What's happening? This is OG Eddie Lee, and I'm definitely in the house. I had been saying I wanted to buy some equipment and get into podcasting. I've watched quite a bit of podcasting shows on YouTube, right? I haven't checked that many out on TikTok, but I've definitely checked them out on YouTube. And the type of podcast shows that I like watching, type of podcast content that I care to listen to is the ones that talk about being incarcerated. Now, it's a lot of other subjects that I could talk about. I've been performing automotive detailing ever since I wrote my first poem, which is 1973. Now, when I say automotive detailing, you know, at the age of 12 years old, I didn't have a bike. I didn't have a car. So when I say detailing, I'm basically talking about keeping my room, my bedroom, clean and neat, organized, where I knew where everything was at. And then when I turned 13 years old in 1974 and I got my first summer job, I bought a bicycle. When I bought this bicycle, I told myself I wanted to have the cleanest bicycle inside the Orange Grove Housing Projects community. And I also told myself that my bike was going to be so clean, I was going to maintain it so well. The way it runs, the way the spokes look on the front and back tire, on the front and back frame, just the bike in general. I wanted someone that once they look at it, take a second look or maybe even a third look and maybe say something like, wow, man, this got to be the cleanest bicycle that I've seen, right? It was a very important move for me to take some of my summer school check money that I made working for the Cedar Summer Program. At the time, my family and I was living in the Orange Grove Housing Projects community. My family had moved into Orange Grove Housing Project community during the summer, early summer of 1973. By the summer of 1974, I had gotten that summer job working for the Housing Board Authority, and I was hired through the CEDAR program. Now, when I say the Housing Board Authority, Mobile, the city of Mobile had a lot of housing projects. So I'm going to specify when I said the Mobile Housing Authority, I worked for the branch or the Mobile Housing Authority that was connected to the Orange Grove Housing Project community, which this job had me working in my own community 5 days a week. And it was interesting. The downside of the summer job, 1974 summer job through CEDAR, the down part of it was they put me with this racist white man This white man told me the first time I was introduced to him, and the person that introduced me to him walked off. He told me we need to get some things straight. He said we won't eat our lunch together. Other than you and I working together and you doing exactly what I tell you to do, we don't have no form of friendship. You do what I tell you to do when I tell you to do it, and that'll help you keep your job. Just in case you wondering why it's like that with me and you, or why it will be like that with you and me, or me and you, it's because I hate niggers, I hate Mexicans, and I hate Jews. I hate any race other than whites. He said, but some of you niggas worked real hard. You had to, because some of your folks, your ancestors, was born into slavery. So if you be a hard-working nigga, you and I get along fine. If you don't, you won't last long with me. So that was my first time having someone that was an adult that I was going to have to interact with, being some blunt with me, calling me a nigger. I went home and told my mother. When I told my mother, she was in the kitchen. My stepfather was sitting down at the kitchen table. He told me, you should quit that job. I grew up down south, just like y'all. I grew up in a small country town in the city smaller than Mobile. He said, I never worked for a white man that called me a nigger. Never called me a boy. Called me by my name, Peter Jr. He said there's other jobs out there you could get. You don't need that job. That's too much stress for a young man to be going through. My mother told me, you're not going to quit that job until you find another job. You need to realize right away that some people going to dislike you just because of your color. It won't have anything to do with what you done wrong, right? The only thing you could have done wrong to a person that's a racist, a person that hate blacks, is being born black. Other than that, you committed no crime. So you need to damn realize that everybody's not going to love you. You go to that job and you do your job until you get yourself another job. I did exactly what my mother told me, and I think I worked there for about 3 weeks. And then after that, I got another job, and I quit that job. So the check that I got, I ended up getting 2 checks from CETA. The first check was for 2 weeks of work, which was 2 5 days. So 5 days 1 week, 5 days the next. I got a full check. And the other check was for a week. I didn't make a second week there because I had quit because I got another job. All right. Like I said, I used the money from CETA to buy the bicycle. I bought the bicycle out of a pawn shop. So when I saw the bike in the display window saying off a pawn, and I saw the way it looked, at that point, I had never seen a bicycle look like this bike before. It resembled a chopper motorcycle. It had a big tire in the back, a small tire in the front, the type of handlebars and the way the frame and the front forks look had the bike in an inclined surface with the back end sitting up high and the front spokes and the front tire and rim sitting low. It looked like a chopper bicycle. Okay, let me go. All right, that's what I started detailing first. All right. I done swung so much off of course, I done damn forgot about what I wanted to say. Damn, son, that's the way it is when you get older. You got so many things going on, but you know, that just goes to show I'm not reading anything off no paper. Everything come to my mind. All my stories are freestyle. That's how, if I don't say it and record it, then I'll forget. I spent a lot of time writing things down. And I got a lot of folders around here, 3-inch binders full of nothing but writings that I wrote, right? But I'm past that now, and I do more on my phone or the keyboard on my computer. Okay, what I wanted to say is before I got into trying to set the podcast up, before I went the second level of having 2 TikTok accounts, because I already had a EJ Automotive Detailing Innovator account on TikTok. I also had a YouTube detail channel called EJ the Automotive Detail Innovator. So I had 2 different EJ detailing channels, one on TikTok and the other one on YouTube. All right, during my spare time, I looked at numerous podcast channels. And a lot of the podcast channels I found very interesting. I like reading the comments. But I noticed with at least the 3 main podcast channels that I watched and listened to basically talk about some of the same thing. It was talking about being incarcerated and some of the things that the inmates went through during their incarceration. But I haven't heard a podcast yet. A guy that formed the podcast, put the podcast channel together. I haven't heard a podcast channel yet talk about the lifestyle they was living that led up to them getting incarcerated. A lot of the podcast channels talk about being incarcerated, the do's or don'ts of incarceration, and they don't touch up. They might say they sold drugs, or they might say they broke in some homes, or something very undescriptional. Now, I don't know if it's a word called undescriptional, but what I mean is they're not really giving a good description on what led them to end up where they were. You know, they don't talk about if they were sprung out on drugs or none of that. Some of them said they sold drugs. Some said that they had to sell drugs in order to survive. You know, I hear all this, and with me, I totally disagree with some of the reasons on why some of the people with podcast channels say that the things that caused them to break the law and get incarcerated. You know, it's like they looking out at a very small-ass window that don't open a lot of opportunities. I disagree with that, because even in 1973, I was 12 years old. If I wanted to make some money Yes, I was underage, but it was a lot of different avenues I could have took. From throwing newspapers to cutting somebody's grass to, um, I gambled for money, rolled dice and playing cards. I didn't actually sell newspaper. I sold a black community newspaper that let the blacks, mainly senior citizen blacks, that don't drive no more or never did drive, allowed them to know what's going on in different communities without having to go into that community. They could read it out of the paper or read it in this paper. And the name of that paper was The Beacon, Beacon, The Beacon. I sold the Beacon newspaper, and the Beacon newspaper was very informative. If somebody wanted to know what's going on in another community that was a poverty community or a community on the outskirts of their community or a newspaper that covers surrounding communities, blacks communities, the Beacon newspaper kept you well informed. I actually liked selling the Beacon newspaper because of the amount of attention I got from the elderly, because they look forward to that Beacon newspaper and they let you know that the Beacon newspaper kept them dialed in on what was going on in black communities. It was time I was late. It was times I didn't come the day that they got used to me coming with the Beacon newspaper. I might have came the next day or skipped 2 days and went, or I might not have came until the next edition came out, which was once a week. Those black senior citizens let me know that if I'm going to be they Beacon newspaper boy, I got to be on time. I got to be prompt. If I'm going to use Tuesday or whatever day I use to come by their place with the Beacon newspaper, they're going to have their 25 cents to buy the newspaper. But the last thing they want me to do is start getting to the point where I'm late or I'm not showing up. They say at that point they need another Beacon guy that carries the Beacon newspaper. So I did the Beacon newspaper. All right. Before I got real interested in podcasting, I was working on my detail channel on YouTube. I was working on my detail account with TikTok, right? Still watching out. Still trying to put together a YouTube channel or TikTok account that I'm going to use to tell strictly stories. Now, I've said in my previous stories that I'm a non-fictional writer. For the amount of things that God delivered me from when I was incarcerated, I feel like if I told a bunch of fictional stuff, a bunch of fairy tale stuff that didn't have nothing to do to get God his praise, but delivering me out of the belly of the beast, without sharing with people that really need to know how just faith alone in God could change things, how it can enhance your life. If I wasn't doing that and I was painting a pretty picture of the world and all my dealings in the world since I've been born, since 1961, I think that would actually go against everything that God had purpose for me to serve. That's why I cannot write fictional material. I have to tell y'all like it is, raw. Since I'm giving it to y'all raw, and we're in the information age, and you basically could find out what you want to find out about someone. You could do a background check even if you have to pay for it. You know, like you might need the person's full name. My full name is Eddie Lee Johnson. The city and state the person was born in. I was born in Mobile, Alabama. I was born on January the 7th, 1961. In Mobile, Alabama. I lived the first 22 years of my life in Mobile, Alabama. To probably help you more to make sure that you find the right Eddie Lee Johnson, because it's a lot of them. I know several Eddie Lee Johnsons. Some are older and some younger than what I am. To have a person's social security number would definitely have you where you could possibly trace that person down and get the right person. Now that I won't help you with. I give you my name, my date of birth, and when I was born. You have all the right in the world, if that's what you feel like you want to do. Do a background check on me. It ain't nothing that I ain't saying on social media. It's nothing that I haven't told anybody that I interact with. That's any damn secret. Because I definitely believe in leveling up to people. Because what happens if you don't tell somebody your truth, somebody else is going to tell it. And nobody could tell your truth like you could tell. All right. Like I said, I was watching some podcasts, and I was getting kind of burned out. I'm like, damn, man, I don't even know how this person end up in the situation to where they incarcerated. I'm reading the comments, and none of the people in the comments are asking the questions. They're asking some of everything except how you end up where you are. I told myself then if I did a podcast, I was going to be as honest as possible. If I care not to talk about a subject or answer a question, I'll say that. But I dare not get on here to lie. I have no reason to lie about anything. I know people say that and don't mean it, but I actually mean it. You know, the life I live is the life I lived. I don't live that lifestyle no more. Do I miss that lifestyle? It's certain things that I missed about it. I realized in myself that I was an adrenaline junkie. I got more out of doing something and getting away with it, doing wrong and getting away with it, than I did earning a profit. Some of the things I did wrong wasn't even about the profit. I never been in a situation where I didn't have no food to eat, no clothes on my back, and a roof on my head. But, you know, with me having 8 siblings in the same household with me, I was told I could play the role. Man, tell your lawyer that. Tell your judge that. Let the judge understand that your mother had 9 kids and she did the best she could for y'all. But it wasn't enough. You was hungry. You didn't have a decent place to stay. That's just like saying nobody loved me, far as I'm concerned. And that's a goddamn lie. I've been loved in a lot of ways. I've had women tell me, oh, yeah, like you don't want to be loved. I'm trying to love you, but you won't let me. Well, first of all, to get it out on the table, to make a plan, to figure out what it takes to make me feel complete as possible. You got to know what I like. If I tell you what I like, if I tell you what I don't like, and then you continue to do the things that turn me off instead of the things that turn me on, I'm gonna question how you feel about me. Because how you feel about me and what you're doing is two different things. Right? I'm not one of these guys that I'll write you a letter. See, I done tried this before. I done had women tell me they was looking for an ideal man. I have asked them to write down their definition of an ideal man. Write it all down. If you are ashamed and you don't want me to look at you while I'm reading your requirements, the requirements on what it takes to make you feel like you got the right complete man for you, you can mail it to me, or you can give it to me and leave, and allow me to read it in my own time, in my own privacy. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to come up with the same thing. If you're not loving me in the way that I ask for you to love me, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. It's just that simple. I don't even want to waste your time. I'm married now. I got married almost 3 years ago. I want to say I was 62 years old when I got married again. Before then, I was divorced for almost 40 years. I didn't never think life would come back around to where I feel comfortable enough being with a woman that I would consider marrying. And I'm definitely surprised a woman wanted my dried up, bitter ass. Because I am definitely kind of dry. And what I am is real. I'm a realist. I don't see the world in the form of the way I want to see it. I don't see the world like you see if you read a fairy tale book or watch some type of fairy tale movie that when the movie ends, it says happy ever after. Nah, I'm nowhere in that story. Happy ever after. It's not written nowhere on me. What's written on me is what you say you feel about me. It's gonna get challenged every day. It's not like I'm trying to pick on you, but the things that I do, the way I am, it's gonna challenge the average person. And then they gotta add it up. They gotta keep score. They gotta add it up. They gotta figure out what they say my yays are my nays, my do's are my don'ts. What's really important to you versus what you can live with. And if you really know yourself, that's not impossible for you to be able to do. You should have a guideline too on how much you willing to take or go through or give. Giving is a whole lot because I give. I expect for you to give. And I want you to give unselfishly, unselfishly. Because I'm going to give to you. But in order for me to give it to you like that, I got to really feel like you're in my corner. I'm not just going to do this and go this far with just the average woman. This woman got to bring something to the table. Ain't got nothing to do with money. She just got to make me feel like she worth it. Oh, man. I think of so many songs when I think of that stuff. come to my mind, lace all. I'm giving it all, giving you my all, giving my all to you. Peace. All right, back to my podcast channel. Once I get it up and running, I'm doing stories and I'm adding stories to it. I haven't went live yet. And if anyone asks any questions on my YouTube channel or my TikTok, I do my best to answer it. I can answer it on the comments, or I could be asked, and then maybe when I do one of the stories, I could throw in my remark from the question I was asked, right? Another thing about some of the YouTube channels that talk about being incarcerated, they want to spend a lot of time talking about men sleeping with men, who turned who out, who cheats. And it's really mind-blowing to me, because I've done time with guys and I got out in the free world, and at the least expected place, my path has crossed these inmate paths. They're free now. Most of them looking like they went on with life, and what happened while they was behind bars is behind them. Damn near every last one of them had children with them, and they had a woman, be it their wife or their significant other, but very few of them by themselves, right? Nobody never told me this. This is just something I came up with on my own. I feel like it's all right to share what they call prison stories. It's a lot of things go on behind bars that could be shared, that need to be shared. Maybe some of the stuff that happen behind bars, the spooky and scary stuff, should be told in a way to maybe deter some of the younger generation. They killing each other like reincarnation is the next day. Like it's not no kind of method or steps you gotta go through after you take somebody's life on them coming back, right? But I always felt like whatever a person done, right or wrong, good or bad, while they was incarcerated, should be treated like Vegas, like people say about Vegas. What happened in Vegas, stay in Vegas. What happened behind those walls, those iron walls, be it detention center, youth center, city or county jails, to the state pen, all that stuff need to be kept where it happened. This is just my opinion, and I won't have that on my podcast. You're not going to hear me discussing in no detail on how somebody got their cheeks or their joints ran up into. I have other things to talk about than stuff like that. I could care less about that stuff because I'm free. And freedom to come and go and interact with basically whoever I want to. I don't have time to spend a lot of time trying to discuss how some other man got punked or scrubbed off. I'm going to end this here and I'm going to pick it up. But just look out for my podcast on YouTube. Like I said, right now I'm posting stories, video I'm recording my stories and posting some of them. And I got have pictures too. And same thing about my TikTok. This is OG Anthony signing off. Peace. What's that?